I'd like to discuss an idea about personal habits and, more importantly, how we develop habits, how we develop addictions, and what, if any, solution Guru Granth Sahib Ji offers for how we can control our habits, how we can become more aware of why our mind works in a particular way. So I'd like to focus on a concept that a lot of us will be familiar with, the Panj Chor. What are they? Why do we have them? And how do we deal with these habits? How do we change our habits? We generally hear about these Panj Chor, these 5 habits, and these have been classed as negative or undesirable. And these have been given different names: 5 thieves, 5 sins. Even in some places, Guru Granth Sahib Ji calls these 5 warriors. So what are the Panj Chor? Kaam, desire or lust; Krodh, anger; Lobh, greed; Moh, attachment; and Ahankar, self-importance or self-identification. And although Guruji has called them 5 thieves, what these are 5 states of mind. The first 3 of them are all related to wanting, to desires. So let's spend a few minutes thinking about desires. What is a desire? What does it mean to want something? You can only want something that you don't have, or something that you feel you don't have enough of. You can't want something that you already have. So let me give you a simple example. How many people wake up in the morning and say, I want my arm or my leg? You can't do it because you already have an arm or a leg. So straight away you realize wanting means I don't have. You can also want something that you have now, but you keep wanting it more. So you have money, but you want to make sure that money keeps coming. You have breath, you have life, you have today to be alive, but you might want more of those. You don't have tomorrow's breath, but you want tomorrow's breath. You don't have tomorrow's money, but you want it. And we spend our whole lives walking around feeling unfulfilled, like there's always things to want. So very quickly life becomes a chase, always wanting, always looking for the next satisfaction, always waiting for the next big thing to arrive. That next thing which is going to fill this emptiness inside you. But one thing we've never realized is no matter what we've got in the past, whatever we've wanted in the past, the feeling of being fulfilled never lasts. Isn't that true? You always feel that the next thing I'm going to buy, that's going to make me feel fulfilled. But when it arrives, it doesn't last. I'm very fortunate that I have 2 young boys, a 6 and an 8-year-old. And every morning before they go to school, we do Hukamnama, and I sit and explain Hukamnama to them at home. And one of the things I explain to them is this idea of always wanting something. Try to put it in their language. And I ask them, who knows what they want for their next birthday? Straight away their hand goes up. I know, Daddy. I know what I want for my next birthday. Then I ask them another question. Who remembers what they got for their last birthday? And then they have to scratch their head. I don't remember what I got for my last birthday. Even if they remember what they got for their last birthday, then I ask them, you know that thing that you were wanting for a very long time? Let me remind you, because I'm the one that had to buy it. I know what you wanted last birthday. I'll tell you what it is. And you know that thing that you wanted really badly? How long did the happiness last once you got it? And then they really begin to understand the happiness didn't last very long. I was happy on the day of my birthday when I got it. But then after that, I played with it for a day, 2 days, maybe a week. But the happiness of something that I was looking forward to for such a long time, it didn't last. And I tell them that's the same that's going to happen on your next birthday. You're already planning what your next present is going to be, but know now that the happiness doesn't last. But then I soothe them a little bit. Then I don't want them to feel guilty for too long. And what I remind them of is, children, don't worry. I'm doing the same thing as well. Grown-ups are no different. Just what we want changes a little bit. So understand now that this wanting is always going on inside of us. And we have to realize that every time we want something, whatever it is, when you're unmarried, you want to get married. When you don't have a job, you want to get a job. When you're married, you want to have children. Then when your children are there, you can't wait for them to grow old and leave. You're always wanting something new. Happiness is always tomorrow. Happiness is never today. So we have to realize this. This is the first thing that we have to realize. And Gurbani talks about this. Teaches us that happiness is always something that we're chasing. So where does this come from? Why do we always feel like we're always chasing something? Why do we feel like there's always an emptiness inside of us? I call this the craving cycle. There's a continuous, perpetual cycle of craving all the time. And it starts with this feeling of emptiness, and this feeling of emptiness is not something that we're aware of, it just feels empty. But we don't really spend any time. Where does this come from? Some of you might have come across a diagram and a concept known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's a person called Maslow, and he calculated what is it that all human beings need, and when do they need it, how do they need it. And he puts a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid is the most important things. These are the things that all human beings need, and once you get them, then you move to the next level of wanting, and then the next level of wanting. So he starts with what he calls physiological needs. The first thing he starts with is physical needs. Food, water, warmth, rest, shelter. Everybody needs that. Even animals need that. So he says, if you don't have anything in life, that's the most important thing that you're going to need first. You're going to need food, water, rest, shelter. The next need, once you have that, then you have the next level. So we're moving up the pyramid now. And the next need is safety. Once you have food and water and shelter, then you want to feel safe and secure. After you have safety and food and warmth and your basic needs are met, you move up to the next level. And then he calls this social belonging. Because nobody is just happy with food and water and shelter. We always want something more. So he says social belonging is the next level. And that's where we want to have relationships. We want to have companionship. We want to have friends and family to spend our life with. Do we stop there? No, then we want the next level. And at the next level, he says, we want a feeling of accomplishment. I should be somebody in my life. So I should do something with my life. Esteem, self-importance, something that makes me feel like I've done something with my life. And he says, we still don't even stop there. He says at the top of the pyramid is something called self-actualization, where you feel like you've reached your full potential. Because even if you have money, even if you have hobbies, there's still emptiness. You always want something more. And he says the final is self-actualization, where you feel like you've reached your full potential. And this is where we do things like arts and music and all these things to really sort of fill our hearts. You know what's interesting? Maslow calls this needs. All human beings need this. The gurus have demonstrated that none of these are needs, but actually all of these are wants. we think we need all of these things. You know what Maslow hasn't included in that? He says the very first level is the need for food and water and shelter. There's one level below that, I think, which is the need to be alive. The need for survival. I need to survive. That's the most important thing. Even more important than food, we think we need to survive. How many of us have that feeling? We need to survive. You know what the Gurus have demonstrated? They demonstrated even that's not a need, that's a want. And yet all living beings have this need. All of us have this feeling inside of us that we have to survive. There are human beings who have transcended all of these needs, even the need to survive. And we don't even need to go very far or look very far to see the examples of Gursikhs who have demonstrated that I don't even need to live. If time comes for me to die, I can die. Guruji says, Jab aav ki od nidhan bane at hi ran mein tab jooj maro. When time comes, I should die happily. So the Bhagats and the Gurus are showing us a new model of living, a new way of living, where even being alive is not that important. The Guru says there's something more important than that. But we're not at that level just yet. Let's come back down to human level, the common level. So we started talking about desires. Our desire to be alive is a desire itself. And every morning we have this desire. Okay, I should do something. It's the reason that we get out of bed. It's the reason that we go and earn a living. We get an education so that we can fill and kind of move up this ladder of needs. The Gurus have shown that these can be overwritten. You don't need to live like this. Now you might think, why would I want to override the need for food? Why would I want to override the need to survive? And the saints have talked about that we can be free from the desire of birth and the desire of birth and death and life. Why do we want to do this? It sounds very strange. I'm not here going to start talking about why we should do this. Let's first discuss that this is an option that most of us have never entertained. There is a way of living that the Gurus have demonstrated, which means that you don't even need to be alive. Doesn't it sound strange? But we don't ever try this option. We don't try to live this way. So how do we try to live? Every day, let's just satisfy our needs. Let's just satisfy our desires. So all of the time in our life, there is something more that we're looking for. No matter what you get in life, you're always feeling like there's something more that you need to achieve. Even if you have all of the things in the world, you feel like there's something more. You know, something that is quite entertaining. When we're children, what are we taught? We're taught money can't buy happiness. And yet when we grow up, we spend every single day trying to accumulate money just so that we can buy happiness. Because everything that we buy, we think will make us happy. And we're all doing this. This is the example that I gave of the small children. We're no different to our children. We're doing exactly the same thing. So let me ask you this question. If buying things makes us happy, then surely the happiest people in the world are the ones who have bought everything. What do you think? The richest people in the world, do we think they're the happiest people in the world? No. You know why the richest people in the world are not the happiest people in the world? Because unlike you and me, we always have something more that we can buy. No matter what we have, we always have something more that we can buy. You know what the richest man in the world feels? He wakes up and one day he realizes, I've got nothing left to buy. I've bought everything. Now where am I going to find my happiness from? They're stuck. They spent their whole life in this craving cycle, buying things, looking for the next thing to buy them happiness. I've got lots of cars, I'm going to buy motorbikes. I've got lots of motorbikes, I'm going to buy a helicopter. I've got a helicopter, I'm going to buy a private jet. What are you going to do when you've bought everything? Where will you look for happiness then? So the Gurus are saying, I'll save you the trouble. Don't spend the rest of your life trying to buy things. Don't spend the rest of your life chasing after what the Guru calls Maya, the illusion of happiness everywhere else. Guru says, I'll save you the trouble. That's not where the happiness lies. So, because we haven't understood this, we just spend our whole life looking for happiness, trying to buy something. And because we have this ultimate desire, this emptiness inside us that we want to fill, those emptiness feelings manifest in emotions known as the Panj Gun. And actually the Gurus have been phenomenal in demonstrating a psychological process which they call the Panj Gun. It's not just 5 things, it's actually 5 things in a sequence. So let me share that with you. At the very beginning, when you have this emptiness, it starts with one feeling, and that feeling is called desire. I need to get something. I need something in my life. Guruji says the first feeling is called calm. I need something. When you don't get it, what do you feel? You feel frustrated. It's not coming. I need to get it. You start developing a second emotion from the first emotion, that of internal agitation, frustration, anger, krodh, the second emotion. And if that anger continues, if that frustration continues, it's no longer just a desire, now it's something that I must have. Greed, lobh. So see how Guruji is giving us a process? Starts with calm, then it goes into this inner frustration. Then it goes into, I must have this, lobh. And even if I have to get it over the benefit of somebody else, if I have to get it before they get it, that's fine. You see, greed, I must get it now. And then what happens when you get it? This is mine. More attachment. It takes time. First, I really need to get it. Just take a simple example. Let's say the latest iPhone model comes out. Yeah? I was lucky enough to drive past Silicon Valley today. And my friends who were driving me were complaining at how expensive all these houses are. But somebody's buying them. They're not big, they're not fancy, but somebody's buying them. I must have them. You buy them after your desire, after your frustration, after your greed. You know what happens in the UK? Sometimes you put an offer on the house. If you're trying to buy a house, somebody else comes in and says, no, they've put a higher offer. And what does the seller do? They just keep going. Even though they've committed to sell the house to you, they say, oh, sorry, somebody else put a higher offer. Greed, no? I have to get it more. I have to get more money. So you buy the latest iPhone, you buy the next big house. Then what do you say? This is my house, mine. You didn't make the phone, you didn't do anything to do with the phone, you simply just went to the shop and bought it, now it's mine. More, the 4th level, the 4th stage. And the final stage is, this is who I am. Look at me, I'm the owner of the latest iPhone. I'm the one with the big house in Silicon Valley. Hankar. I am this person. I identify with that greed process. I'm the person who's gone through this. This is who I am. And you know what? We've done this process from the very first day we were born. I see it in my 2 boys. Somebody has a toy, the other one wants it. You know what happens? There's a toy that's lying around. Nobody's been playing with it for months. Then one of my sons picks it up, the other one says, I need to have that toy today. And I explained to them, I can see all the mothers nodding. I explained to them, nobody's been playing with that toy. Why do you want it now? Because he's playing with it. You see, we compare ourselves with other people. And we do the same things as grown-ups. Nobody had ever, I remember it was going back a few years, when the tablet first came out. You know, first there was the iPhones and all that, and then this iPad came out. I said, what a silly thing. Who's going to need a tablet? Who needs a big phone so big? But sure enough, Everybody else got one. I said, man, I need to get a tablet. I don't know where that desire come from, and sure enough, I have a tablet now. The same thing that I thought was absolutely ridiculous, but everybody else gets it. Do you see, we're no different than children. We haven't really evolved our thinking. We like to think we're grown-ups. We like to pretend to the young children that we're smart, but we're not smart. Your mummies and daddies aren't very smart. We're all the same. I can say that because my children aren't here. So, we spend all of our time in this greed cycle, going from one thing to another, and we've been doing this from the day that we were born, and then all of a sudden we ask ourselves this question, who am I? I need to go on a spiritual quest. I don't know where my egos come from. Where did my ego come from? But we don't understand. This whole process has been part of you developing your ego. And the Guru uses a very specific word for these emotions. He doesn't say you just have 5 emotions. He says you have 5 thieves. What is a thief? There are 2 things that we can use to identify with a thief. One is, a thief doesn't belong here. It's somebody, it's an outsider, it's an intruder. It doesn't belong in your home. So the first thing to understand is a thief doesn't belong with you. It's not yours. You know, what do we say? We say, I'm angry. It's mine. It's my anger. I'm feeling greedy. I'm feeling lustful. And the Guru doesn't use that terminology. The Guru says, lust is attacking me. Greed is attacking me. You know what I do with my children? I explain to them that they don't have to identify with these emotions. We were very lucky a few years ago, somebody had gone to Darbar Sahib in Amritsar, and you know, outside Amritsar there's lots of shops selling all sorts of Sikh things. You can buy kange and kade and all these sorts of different things. And somebody had gone and purchased a game of snakes and ladders. But the snakes and ladders was a Sikhi snakes and ladders. I don't know if you've seen this game. And the 5 snakes on the game, on the board game, were Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mohankar. And the ladders were good things like Seva, Simran and these sorts of things. So we used to play this game with our children, and we used to explain to them, look, why are you going down this snake? Because the snake has got a name, it's called anger. When you get angry, you go down. You know, the 100th step is that you get to Waigu, right? You have to go past, and we say, oh look, you've gone up the ladders because you've done lots of Naam Simran today. Yeah, and they feel really proud, I did some Naam Simran today. And you know, we go up the game, and almost at the end, when you get to the 100th square, just at 98 is the biggest snake, ego. You get the ego snake, you go all the way right down to the bottom again. And the kids hate that one, and I have to explain to them, these are snakes. And so we use this analogy. And now with my children, I say to them, when they get angry, I don't say to them, you're getting angry. I say to them, the angry snake is biting you. The angry snake is biting you. Why? Because the Guru uses the same analogy. That the snake isn't yours. Nobody wants this. Don't say it's my anger. The snake is something attacking you from outside. I say the angry snake is biting you, and even if I'm the one who's made you angry, now I don't want to make the snake bite you anymore. Now my opportunity is to help you get the snake off you. Even if I'm arguing with my child, you know, sometimes you argue with them about anything. I say to them, now that the angry snake has got you, my role as a father is not to keep winning the argument. My role as a father is to get the snake off you. And I hope that when they're older, they'll do the same for me, because I get angry sometimes. I say, please, when you get older, you remind me. I want them to come up to me and say, Dad, the angry snake is biting you. And I'll say, yeah, you're right. So Guruji uses this analogy that these Panj Chor aren't yours. Don't take ownership of them. They're not your friends. You know, we like to think, oh, I get angry sometimes, it's okay. I'm allowed to be angry. They're the person who's done something wrong. You blame it on someone else. Don't blame someone else. There's something attacking you. So one thing is the chor. A thief is something that is outside of you. It doesn't belong with you. The second thing is, in order for it to be a thief, it's stealing something from you. Now the question is, what is the chor stealing? Have you ever thought? Panj Chor, what are they stealing? Guruji explains. Guru Amar Das Ji, our third Guru, on Ang number 600 says, Is dehi andar panch chor vasai kam, krodh, lobh, moh, ahankara. In this body there are 5 thieves. Desire, anger, all the ones that we've talked about. greed, attachment, and self-importance. Is dehi andar panch chor vase, काम क्रोध लोभ मोह अहंकारा अमृत लूटे मन मुख नहीं बूझे कोई न सुने पुकारा. They're stealing something from you. What are they stealing? They're stealing Amrit. You know what that means? You have Amrit inside you. In your home is Amrit, already there. Every man, woman and child, you don't have to wait for it. It's already there inside you. Amrit loote, but man mukh nahi bujhe. The one who keeps listening to the mind, we keep listening to the voice in our head. We don't understand. And then we cry in pain. Nobody is listening to me. Nobody is concerned about my problems. Koi na sune pukara. Nobody is listening to my screams. The thieves are stealing an Amrit inside you, and it means that there is a divine essence inside every single one of us. And that divine essence is not your Amrit. That is this divine Amrit that's been given to every single one of us. This beauty, this stillness, this mitas, this sweet thing inside of us. So, what is this Amrit that's inside of us that we've never even known about? How do we find this Amrit? How do we get in touch with this Amrit? What does it look like? And the Guru says, in order to find the Amrit inside you, you have to do something with the 5 thieves. You have to change them. From the Panch Chor, the Guru has also given us Panj Gun. 5 good qualities that you can adopt. Rather than entertaining these 5 thieves as though they're guests and bringing them into your house, come in, come in. Let me make you comfortable. Like they're guests, we call them into our house. The Guru says, don't entertain those. You've got 5 other things that are already within you, 5 guna. And the Guru is saying that you can convert 5 thieves into 5 good qualities. And these are Sat, giving, charity, Santok, contentment, peace, happiness, Daya, compassion, love for others, Taram, living in the moral right way. You could call it divine living. Such truthfulness. There's a story of Guru Nanak Dev Ji when he was young. And you must have heard the story that when was his time, a rite of passage, when he became a young man, he was asked that now is your time that you have to get this holy thread put on top of you. This jano, this holy thread, sacred thread. And so you can imagine the day Guruji has been brought to the holy man, the Pandit, whatever you want to call it. Maybe all the chache, mame, tae have been invited, I don't know. Maybe all the relatives have been invited, and Guruji's, it's like you say today, maybe we have like a dastar bandi or something like that. An important day for a young man to grow into an adult. And Guruji asks a very important question. Guruji says, what is this thread? And the priest replies that it's going to make you a godly person. And Guruji is thinking, how can this thread make me a godly person? Doesn't make any sense. And why, when some people are wearing this thread, do they still act in a corrupt way? Why are they still not godly in their characteristics? And then Guruji carries on asking these questions. This thread that's supposed to make me very good character? He says, what happens if it gets broken, if it breaks? The priest says, don't worry, you just go to the market and you buy another one. He said, what kind of string is this? What kind of string is this that is supposed to have magic powers inside it, and yet when it breaks, I just go and I get another one? And when I die, are these qualities going to go with me? Is this string going to go with me? So after questioning the priest, the Guru is convinced this string is not going to do anything for me. And there's a salok in Gurbani written by Guru Nanak Dev Ji where he says, I'm going to offer a different kind of string. And I'll just read the English for you. He says, make compassion, daya, the cotton, contentment, the thread, and self-control, self-restraint, the knot, and truth, the twist. This is the sacred thread of life, And if you have it, then go ahead and put it on me. If you have such a thread made of contentment, made of self-restraint, of truth, put that string on me. He says, it does not break, and it cannot get dirty, it cannot get burnt, and it cannot get lost. Blessed are those people, O Nanak, who wear such a thread around their neck. What is Guru demonstrating? That the external things that you put on you doesn't define your character. Guruji is saying that there are internal characters that you have to have, which are these Panj Gun, these 5 virtues. So, let's talk about our life. How do we live? We live with our Panj Chor all the time. Like we've invited them into our home, we make them comfortable. Whenever they feel like it, they can just express themselves. Whenever anger wants to come, it can come. Whenever desire wants to show its head, it can. Whenever greed, attachment, self-importance come, we allow it. The Guru says, actually there's another way of living. Don't live with the 5 thieves. Let's get rid of them and let's call in 5 new guests. You know what? Maybe these 5 guests don't even need to call in. Maybe these 5 guests are already there with you. So what we can do with these bad habits of anger, greed, desire, attachment, self-importance, we can convert them. For each one of the 5 negative behaviors, there are 5 positive behaviors, and the Guru has given us a map to show us when this happens, why don't you try this? So let's see how the Panj Chor matches with these 5 guna. The first Chor, the first thief, the first negative emotion that we don't want to experience is desire. Guruji says if that's the first negative, then the first positive is Sat, giving. What is desire? I want for myself. What is charity? Whatever I have, I give. Every opportunity where you experience the emotion that I feel like I really want this, if you can take a step back and see, oh, my desire is coming, change your thinking. Rather than wanting right now, what opportunity do I have to give something right now? And it doesn't mean that you have to pick up all your possessions and give it away. You can give someone your time. You can give someone your care. Right at that moment when you feel like you're being a little bit greedy, and if you're aware enough to think, yes, that desire has come inside me, remember, instead of taking right now, what can I give? So with calm, we can convert it to Sat. From desire, we can convert it to giving. With anger, we can convert it to Santok, the second one, the second of the 5 gunas. Anger means frustration, agitation. Santok means contentment. Remember that. You have a choice whether to engage with this thief or you can battle this thief. Imagine the 5 guna as 5 weapons. You know what, Guruji, I said once earlier on that the Guru calls the Panj Chor 5 warriors. Like these things aren't easy to defeat. There's a line in Gurbani where Guru says, Jin mil mare panch sur bin aso kaun balire. Who is that warrior who can defeat the 5 warriors? If you want to be a warrior that defeats the 5 evil warriors, maybe you should arm yourself with Panch Shastra. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji also said you have to arm yourself with Panch Shastra. Tiro tafango bado ram jango tamakdar aniyar kamand kodda Panch Shastra Parvan. Guruji used to say, don't let a Sikh come into my darbar if they're not armed with 5 weapons. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji started this idea. First start with 5 inner weapons. Sat, Santok, Daya, Dharam, Sach. So the first one, when you have desire, fight it with the weapon of giving. When you have frustration and agitation, fight it with the weapon of Santok. When you have lobh, greed, Self-interest. Greed means I want what's important for me first. Fight it with the weapon of daya. Not whatever I want, I'm going to get it first. Daya means you're more important than me. So you can convert that. Compassion. When you have more, which is this idea of self-ownership, I'm the most important thing and I own everything. Everything is about me. You can have taram, and taram is a life of saying, this isn't about me. Detachment. More is about attachment. Taram is about saying, I'm going to live to serve for somebody else. And even if that means that my desires are not fulfilled, the desires of everyone else can be served. So rather than an attached way of living, you're living detached. And ahankar. When you feel a sense of self-importance, I'm better than you. I'm more important than you. Who are you to say this to me? When you have that kind of feeling, fight it with truth. Because hankar, Guru has explained, is a false sense of importance. It is falsehood. You're not the most important person in the room. You're never the most important person. But you have to fight that with this idea, with this understanding that actually it's nothing to do with me. There is a bigger truth in the world, that we're all one. Isn't that the Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai bhi Sach, Nanak Hosi bhi Sach? The permanent truth? What is the permanent truth? Ik Onkar. Not hankar, ik Onkar. When you have hankar, fight it with ik Onkar, the ultimate Sach, the ultimate truth. So Guruji has given us a beautiful system of battling the 5 negative emotions with 5 positive virtues. But I want to talk about now something a little bit more serious. Why do these habits come inside of us? What do we do with real problems in our life, real addictions in our life? We all have addictions. Every single one of us has things inside of us that we don't like to show other people in public. We all have these negative emotions. But we need to look at the cause of these negative emotions, the cause of these. You know, as a society, we really like to judge people. We like to judge alcoholics. We like to judge drug users, smokers, drinkers, people with lust problems, people with gambling problems. But these are just the symptoms. This is not the real problem. The real problem is something festering underneath. So there are some things that we have to go a little bit deeper to understand, why do these things happen? So there are 2 things to be aware of now. One is your perception, second is your action. Your perception. How you identify yourself will determine how you act. Let me explain what I mean. You know, when you get angry, you know what you say? It's okay, I'm an angry person. If you're acting out of lust, you convince yourself, I'm a lustful person. You know what that means? You have already convinced yourself, this is who I am. So if this is who I am, of course I have to act in this way. If you steal something from a shop and then you steal something again and again and again, you start identifying that I am a thief. So you have decided, first and foremost, that I am this person, so it's okay for me to act like this. If you have a lot of anger inside you, you have decided, I am an angry person. So then when you get angry, you're not surprised. So your perception is the first thing to identify. You have already agreed with yourself, I am this kind of person. So when the habit happens, you don't fight it. You know what I mean? I've already decided in my head. You say, "Main ki karan? What can I do?" Aadat ban gayi. This is who I am. These are my habits. So first thing is, you can change the perception of who you are. You don't have to say anymore that I am a greedy person, I am a lustful person, I am an angry person. You can change that definition. Because from your definition of yourself, that's what allows those actions to come out. So you have to first change the perception that I no longer want to be that person. Think about anything in your life that you want to change. First, you have to make a decision, I want to change. You know, if you go to these AA meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous, the first thing they say to you, the first step to recovery is to admit that you have a problem. That's the very first thing. If you want to get better, the first thing you have to do is admit, I've got a problem and I no longer want this problem in my life. I want to change something. So your perception of yourself, how you see yourself, defines what you do. And if you keep doing something, that defines your actions, what you become. So how do these habits get formed? I like to use a really simple example. Let's say you start a new job, and in the new job somebody's showing around you and around the office, and they're showing you, you know, this kitchen area, there's a free coffee machine. Help yourself to free coffee as much as you like. So the first day you go to job, you look at the kitchen and you think, do I drink coffee? Do I not drink coffee? You have to think about it a little bit. And then you make a decision. Okay, it's free. I'll take a coffee. Right? Decision made. You had to think about it and you made a decision. The next day comes, you think, yeah, I quite like that free coffee. I'll have another free coffee. The next day comes, you don't think about it so much. You just go and make a free coffee. Very soon, every day, for no reason, you go to work, first thing in the morning, you make yourself a coffee. You know what that's called? That's called a habit. The very first time you had to think about this. Should I do it? Should I not do it? And this applies for anything. The second time you think about it a little bit less. The third time even less. And eventually you don't even think about it. As soon as you go to work, a little voice goes off in your head. Oh, don't forget your coffee. And you don't think, do I need a coffee or I don't need a coffee? You just think, I've come into work, I have to take my coffee. That's called a habit. This is how habits are formed. And then you've been going to work for so long and been having your coffee every single day. One day the coffee machine's broken. You know what you say? I can't start my morning without my coffee. That's called addiction. The point at which habits have become so perpetual, so ingrained within you, that you identify with you being a coffee drinker first thing in the morning. By the way, this has nothing to do with coffee. Coffee is just an example. You can change coffee for anything in your life, for any habit in your life. As soon as you've decided that this is who I am, then you go to work and you say, I have to start my day with it. I can't start my day without a coffee. That's become an addiction. So the definition of a habit is something that you don't think about doing, it just happens. The definition of an addiction is something that you can't say no to. Think about in your life for a moment. Is there anything that you can't say no to? As much as you want to stop doing it, as much as you want to change that habit, there's a part of you that says, I can't stop. Then you know that's called an addiction. You know, they say that when water is flowing, it takes the path of least resistance. When water is flowing, it just chooses the easiest path down. If that way is a little bit uphill or there are some obstacles, it will just go around it. And in a way, our mind works in the same way. It doesn't want to make that decision every single day. So every single day it says, I made that decision yesterday, I'll just do the same one again. It just tries to find the easy way out. And so in the same way, our habits have been formed. And our Panj Chor, our desires, our anger, we don't even question them anymore. They just happen and we just say, what can I do? This is who I am. We don't question them. We don't sit back and think, why did I do that? Maybe I didn't have to do that. So this self-reflection is not really part of our habit. Our minds have chosen the easiest option. The easiest option is just to keep doing what you've always done. And why are they sometimes known as 5 sins, Panj Vikar, 5 habits that you really don't want to have in your life. They're a sin because you keep doing it habitually. And you're doing it without thinking, and you're doing it and you're missing something. You're missing the fact that there's Amrit inside you. And that's the habit that you should be forming. That's the thing that you should be drinking every day, not the habit of drinking and indulging in your desires every day. But we're locked with these things. We actually identify with these things. We say, this is who I am. You say, do you drink coffee or do you drink tea? I drink coffee every day. This is who I am. So this is where ego is created, your self-identity. This is who I am. Because of all the behaviors that you've always done. So what do we do with our impulses? What should we do when we go into work and that impulse comes? Now start thinking about real habits that you want to break. What do you do when that habit comes? Should we try and be a sadhu, a saint, and just say, no, whenever the habit comes, I have to just do something. I have to take my mind off it. I'm a pure person now. I'm a good person now. I don't do that anymore. I said first thing is to change that perception. Some people go the opposite way. I used to be a sinner, now I'm a saint. Now I don't do anything like that. So you convince yourself, I can't do these things anymore. But have you ever noticed that if you think like that, it doesn't last very long? Whenever you try and break some habits, it doesn't last very long. Because what you've done is you haven't actually dealt with the habits. All you've done is you've suppressed it. You've just said, I'm going to put my habits in a box and I'm just going to pretend like they don't exist. So when you restrict your impulses, when you suppress your impulses, you realize that the impulse hasn't actually gone away. It's still there in the box. You haven't just managed to free yourself from it. So you're temporarily putting them away. But very soon, temptation comes back. There's a novelist called Oscar Wilde, and he once said, I can resist everything except temptation. I can control myself of everything except the temptation to do things, to do the bad things. Which means I can't control myself to do anything. So what do we do with our impulses? How do we wash ourselves of this? How do we purify ourselves of this? Most people say that habits are really hard to break. But you know what they're really saying? I quite like that habit. Think about something that you're doing again and again and again, and you tell yourself, I don't want to be doing it, I shouldn't be doing it. But the reality is, you're getting some pleasure out of it. Think about a habit now. What habit do you want to break that you can't break? The reality is, you're getting some pleasure out of it. That's why you keep doing it. There's some part of you that says, actually, it's quite good. And in fact, that part is quite big. If it wasn't giving you something, you'd get rid of it. But because it's giving you something, the impulse to stop it is not as strong as the desire to keep it going. You're getting some reward out of it. Most habits feel good. They make us feel good. Even though we don't like to admit it, they make us feel good. So we keep wanting more. So the Guru suggests, you know what? Rather than just ignoring them, let's make a new habit. And Guruji wants you to take only one habit. 24 hours a day, Guruji wants you to have the habit of Naam. Whenever the impulse arrives, make Naam your response. If you have any weapons with you, the strongest weapon is the weapon of Naam. This isn't our weapon, this is now the Guru's weapon. Imagine you're handed over the Guru's sword and the Guru's shield and say, now come and fight me. Then you have the strongest weapon. So what we're doing is we're not now restricting ourselves from anything, and we're not also overly following with it. But one thing to be aware of. I've used the analogy of fighting. I've used the analogy of overcoming it. But there's another thing to be aware of. The more you resist something, the more you fight something, you give it more power. Say, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. What's happening? That thing is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And in the end, you do it. It's so difficult, isn't it? This is why Guruji calls them Panj Surbir, 5 warriors. Jin mil mare Panj Surbir, aisa kaun balire? Who is this warrior that's managed to fight these 5 warriors? Let me find such a great person. This is not easy. It's okay for me to sit here and give you all the theory. But at least it's important that we identify that these are the things that are happening inside of us. So Guruji suggests Naam as an appropriate response. But not Naam as a way of fighting it, as resisting it. Because if you say, okay, this desire has come for coffee, let's use coffee as the example. So I'm just going to say, Waheguru, 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 and then you think, Waheguru, no coffee, please. Please, no coffee, no Waheguru. What happens? How long does that last? It doesn't last. I'm being very honest and very realistic here. It's very hard. It doesn't last. So, don't use Naam as a chore. Naam shouldn't be something as a chore. You remember how I said the reason we do our habits is because we're enjoying them? You have to make a new habit that's even more enjoyable. Naam shouldn't be something that you use just as a shield, say, please protect me from this. Naam has to be something that you learn to love. Say, when the feeling of Naam comes, when the feeling of desires come, Naam should be an even stronger one. You know, Guruji talks about this in Anand Sahib. Most of the Anand Sahib that you tend to hear in the Gurdwara tends to be the short version of Anand Sahib. We call it the Panj Paudiyaan, the 5 verses of Anand Sahib. Really, Anand Sahib has got 40 verses. It's actually a much longer verse. And in that, it's part of what the Gursikhs are meant to read every day in the morning. And in there, Guruji talks about, this is written by the 3rd Guru again, Ramkali Mahalla Tija. Guruji says, E Rasana, tu anaras rach rahi teri pyas na jaye. Oh my tongue, you're always looking for other pleasures. This is never going to end. But Guruji then suggests that when you get the swad of har ras, when you get the taste, the amrit, the beautiful juice of doing Naam Simran, and it's not just, it's not a difficult drink. It's not like a medicine that tastes bitter. Guruji talks about har ras. When you get the juice, the nectar of doing har, of doing Naam, and it becomes enjoyable, then he says all the other desires, they just pale in comparison. So Naam becomes your new habit, but it has to be a habit that you enjoy. So don't make Naam something like, oh, I really have to do that Naam Simran stuff again. Make Naam Simran enjoyable, and that comes with a bit of patience, that comes with a bit of practice. You know, I try and get my 5-year-olds, my 6-year-old children to do Naam Simran. They're saying, oh Dad, we don't want to do that again. But hopefully, at this young age, we can keep giving them this incentive. You know, with little children, you might give them, okay, do some Naam Simran, I'll give you some money. I'll give you $1, I'll give you £1. There's a story of a young Bhagat who was enticed by his mother all the time to do Naam Simran. Bhagat Farid ji. When he was young, his mother used to say to him, do some bhakti, do your namaz, do your prayers, and I'll give you something. And maybe the mother would put maybe some sweets there. And then every day, when the little child is doing his prayers, he knows, I know I'm going to get a sweet at the end of it. One day, the mother had run out of sweets. And Faridji was still doing Naam Simran. Still doing Naam Simran. And the mother at the end says, I'm sorry, I don't have any more sweets to give you. He says, Mom, today I don't need any more sweets. Today the ras has come inside. Now you no longer need to give me that sweet. The sweet has built inside me. Now the Naam Simran itself has become sweet to me. So this is what Guruji talks about. Do it, and eventually it starts becoming so beautiful, so lovely inside you that you don't feel like doing anything else. That no other habit is as gratifying as the habit of Naam. So this is where you have to do Naam Simran on a regular basis. You know what we do? We use Naam Simran as a last resort. Whenever the bad feeling comes inside of us, we say, okay, now I have to do Naam Simran. You know what I say? I say, when you're drowning, that's not the time to learn how to swim. It's not the time to learn how to swim when you're drowning. You start your swimming lessons first, so if any time you land in difficult waters, you already know what to do. And Naam Simran should be the same thing. You don't start learning to do Naam Simran, or you don't start doing Naam Simran when the difficult times have come. You start doing Naam Simran every day, every moment. That's how you build up this mithas, this sweet flavor of Naam. You do Naam Simran as much as possible so that when the difficult times come, then you've already got the medicine of Naam. You've already got the sweet taste of Naam inside you. You already have protected yourself with Naam. So first the impulse arrives in you, but then you now have a new weapon. You have a new pleasure. Because remember, your Panj Chor, they're something that you enjoy. We actually quite like being lustful. We quite like getting angry. It makes us feel important. We quite like having attachments to things. So as well as the 5 good virtues, there's one best virtue, which is the virtue of Naam. So you have to recognize that when these things come, you can do something about it. And then you can enjoy the Naam. Naam is your response. You can enjoy it. You can enjoy how simple it is. You don't have to do anything. You can breathe in the Naam. Because Naam isn't something that you have to buy from the shop. You don't have to get it from anywhere else. It's already there, but you have to practice it.